All right, welcome back to a brand new video of the Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience. Uh, so, just want to again, just to show you the mindset of these children, mother, right? She went on vacation, cleaned up the living room was spotless. She came back within a day. She threw all the shit on the floor. Look, her shoebox is on the floor, right? Her, bags of clothes that she put in the bag to give away, right there. Clothes all over the place. Okay? Yet tell me that she is going to clean up. It's been a week. It's been a week, right? Still hasn't cleaned it up. Okay? She's here the weekend. She made a mess in the foyer. Again, I keep telling her, I said, you say you're cleaning, but you make more of a mess. Which again, it takes a special person to be able to do that, right? But that's what she does. Okay. But yet, instead of coming home, particularly knowing that the kids have school, the kids are this, she's like, well, you're their father. Again, we're not in a relationship, right? Yet, she believes that I'm supposed to, when she leaves the kids home, that I'm supposed to go over there, spend the entire day with them, while she takes the opportunity to go out, right? And yet want to tell me, well, you're their father. I want you to understand how these women, particularly our women, black women, how they believe in bullshit and how they think of us as men. All right? And this is being put into their minds by the predators in the New York Predator Department, the Sambos and Sambinas in the Predator Department, the Sambos and Sambinas in the churches, in the black churches. This is why the majority of women that are in these churches are single. All right? The control mechanism and what they do to them. And if you are a black woman and you are a above average earner in salary, they are heavily invested into keeping you ignorant, to manipulate you, so you can continue to fund their luxury lifestyle, all right, while abandoning your children. So when she says things to me like she just had to tonight, well, you're their father and such, you know, no accountability on her part. No accountability on her part. Okay? So she can go out, do whatever she wants to do, and I have to be there with the kids. So I don't have a home to go home to. Right? I don't need rest. So again, I'm gonna show you guys what a coercive persuasion program is, and we're gonna talk about something more. And as I'm pointing my finger, I'm looking at my finger. I have the ring on my pointing finger. Then you're a predator department using the sirens in the background. Okay, this is the mess that she made that she said she was cleaning. Does it look clean? So anyhow, again, let me pause this and all right. So let's get to it. So in order for you to understand how coercive mind control tactics work, you need to understand the definition of it and the tactics and methods. Okay. So here's the website psychologicalharassment.com, which is a leading site in explaining how manipulation work, psychological coercive control, also manipulation through social media, movies, and other forms of media, as well as psychological harassment and coercion within the society, inside and outside the society. Okay? So, coercive mind control tactics. Today's mind control or brainwashing in academia is commonly referred to as coercive persuasion, coercive psychological systems, or coercive influence. The short description comes from Dr. Margaret Singer, professor emeritus at the University of California at Berkeley, the acknowledged leading authority in the world of mind control and cults. So when I call them cults, I understand who they are. Okay. Uh, so coercion is defined by the American Heritage Dictionary as the force to act or think in a certain manner, to dominate, restrain, or control by force, to bring about by force. Coercive psychological systems are behavioral change program which use psychological force in a way to cause the learning and adaptation of an ideology or designated set of beliefs, idea, attitudes, or behaviors. The essential strategic use of the operators of these programs is to systematically select, sequence, and coordinate many different types of coercive influence, anxiety, and stress producing tactics over a continuous period of time. In such a program, the subject is forced to adapt in a series of tiny invisible steps. Each tiny step is designed to be significantly small so that the subject will not notice the change in themselves and identify the coercive nature in the process being used. Okay? Now, for most people are not able to even identify these coercive things, but eventually some of us will wake up to what it is and start to see it. Okay? And this is what they fear, right? Those of us who have the ability to wake up and see the conditioning mechanism, right? The brainwashing tactics in society, the covert manipulation, right? The cognitive warfare and neurocognitive warfare. Okay? The subject the subjects of these tactics do not become aware of the hidden organizational purpose of the coercive psychological program until much later, if ever. These tactics are usually applied in a group setting by, well, I wouldn't say well intended, but well deceived friends and allies, even family of the victims. This keeps the victim from putting up the ego defense we normally maintain in known adversarial situation. The coercive psychological influence of these programs aim to overcome the individual critical thinking abilities and free will. Apart from any means to inform judgment, victims gradually lose their ability to make independent decisions or exercise informed consent. As I said, the word exercise, use the sirens. And again, I can't, I could exercise, but very limited, all right? Exercise I can do, all right? Their critical thinking, defensive cognitive process, value, ideas, attitudes, conduct, and ability to reason are undermined by a technical process rather than meaningful free choice, rationality, or the inherent merit or value of the ideas or proposition being presented. How do they work? The tactics used to create undue psychological and social influence, often by means involving anxiety, stress, falls into seven main categories. Tactic one, increase suggestibility. One of the things that they don't discuss here is the covert drugging. So I gotta state that, okay, because that's part of it too. In order that is to drug you, and is to soften you up to be more susceptible to being psychologically manipulated. All right. So increase suggestibility and softening up the individual through specific hypnotic or other suggestibility increasing techniques such as extended audio, visual, verbal, or tactile fixation drill, which I talk about a lot. With the fixation drill, the palm behind the back sort of thing, or the palm in front, or putting their hands next to their ear so I can see their palm off their hand, right? Excessive exact repetition of routine activities, sleep restriction, and or nutritional restriction. Tactic two, establish control over the person's social environment, time, and source of social support by a system of often excessive reward and punishment. Social isolation is promoted. It's not even promoted, it is orchestrated. It is uh, uh, purposely done to isolate the victims, right? So that they don't come in contact with people like me who understand what it is that's being done, or prevent you from going to see a therapist. Or if you do see a therapist, then infiltrating that therapist to get them to not want to listen to you, and just prescribe your medication. That's it, right? So they have no, so you will have no written record of what it is that you're saying is happening to you. They just want to talk. They don't write nothing down. Okay, trust me, I've been through it. All right, and friends is it says contact with family and friends is abridged as is contact with person who do not share group approved attitudes, economics, or other dependent on the group is fostered. Okay. Tactic 3, prohibiting disconfirming information and non-supporting opinion in group communication. Now, this is for within the cult setting, but it also applies to you as an individual, as a TI, or any individual, right? Is that you don't have to be in a group setting for them to censor you, like what they used to do with what they do from time to time, I should say, with my social media platforms that I'm on in terms of censoring me. Or early on in my targeting, when I was doing the research, I would be hit with denial of service attacks. So certain websites I would get on, and then all of a sudden I'll be disconnected from the site, and I would get a DNS message, right? So rules exist about permissible topic to discuss with outsiders. And again, I talk about this. I've been posting about China, and they don't like it, so they will engage in this sort of psychological threats. And so I just start posting videos with other, particularly white people, who talk about China, who lived in China, and talk about how much better China is, and so forth. Because the one thing that these oligarchs and those within the American government and the military is doing is to manipulate us into thinking that America is the greatest country on this planet, in the world, and it's not. Okay, it is not. And how do you know that? By the way it treats its citizens, by the way it separates and divides people, by the way it treats its black population, right? By the things that it do, by allowing corporation to have excess greed to where they cause massive income inequality. They're profiting off of people's misery that they create. Okay, that's not a great nation. All right. Let's go ahead. Tactic 4, make the person reevaluate the most central aspect of his or her experience of self and prior conduct in negative ways. But it depends on what they say is negative ways. So, for example, speaking the truth, they'll consider that negative. This is why, particularly in the black community, black women do not like to hear the truth because they have been taught to believe that the truth is negative. So anytime you can create a backwards way of believing and a backwards way of thinking within the population of people, right? So what's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. And they use a reward and punishment, what is called operant conditioning. Okay? All right. So efforts are designed to destabilize and undermine the subject's basic consciousness, reality awareness, worldview, emotional control, and defense mechanism. The subject is guided to reinterpret his or her life history and adopt a new version of causality. Causality. All right. So, for example, like I showed you guys in the video, that for Pam, that reality in terms of how she keeps her house is totally acceptable. To have our children living like that's totally acceptable. Even though I clean, but the minute that I clean, how she's conditioned is to just walk in, take her clothes off, throw everything on the floor. If I mop, wear her shoes in the living room when I ask her not to do it, because she'll tell me it's her house. But yet, when I don't clean and I let the stuff pile up, as you guys see, then it's like, well, what are you here for? Right? That is the mindset that she has. Okay, that is her mindset, and she's conditioned like that. And why? The use of honey traps, the use of males or females, whatever. Because now, what they are trying to do to our young men and young women, including those amongst my age also, is to engage in this belief that you know, that anything goes, right? That I can sleep with men, women, whoever, animals. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just sex, right? This is the mindset, right? And black people and Hispanic people, I keep saying, they are the Hispanics are the number one group of people who young people believe like that, and next is black men and black women. I should say black Negropean men and Negropean women, and then white people. So even though on social media they show you all these pictures, videos, images of white people, but they're not the majority who identify as gay, bisexual, transgender, lesbian, or gay, bisexual, lesbian, transgender. They're not the majority. The majority of people who identify that are Hispanic men and Hispanic women. Right? And the second most are black men and black women, with black women being the lead over black men. All right, there are almost three times as many black women who identify as lesbian and bisexual than there are of black men who identify as homosexual and bisexual. Right, that's three times the amount of black women to black men who identify as such. So don't let them lie to you. And again, because they keep feeding us lies, and we believe their lies. So they give us a false sense of reality. Okay? Tactic 5. Create a sense of powerlessness by subjecting the person to intense and frequent action and situation which undermines the person's confidence in himself or his judgment. Tactic 6. Create strong, aversive emotional arousal in the subject by use of non-physical punishments such as intense humiliation, loss of privilege, social isolation, social status change, intense guilt, anxiety, manipulation, and other techniques. Tactic 7. Intimidate the person with the use of with the force of group sanctioned secular psychological threats. For example, it may be suggested or implied that failure to adapt the approved attitude, a belief, or consequent behavior will lead to severe punishment or dire consequences such as physical or mental illness, the reappearance of a prior physical illness, drug dependence, economic collapse, social failure, divorce, disintegration, failure to find a mate, etc. These tactics of psychological force are applied to such a severe degree that the individual's capability to make informed and free choices become inhibited. The victim become unable to make the wise and balanced decision which they would most likely or normally would have made had they not been unknowingly manipulated by these coordinated technical processes. The cumulative effect of these processes can be even more effective form of undue influence than pain, torture, drugs, or the use of physical force or physical and legal threats. Okay, so how do they differ from other forms of influence? The coercive psychological system are distinguished from benign social learning or peaceful persuasion by the specific condition under which they are conducted. These conditions include the type and number of coercive psychological tactics used, the severity of environmental and interpersonal manipulation, and the amount of psychological force employed to suppress particular unwanted behavior or train desired behaviors. Okay? Coercive force is traditionally visualized in physical term. In this form, it is easily definable, clear-cut, and ambiguous. Coercive psychological force, unfortunately, has not been so easy to see and define. Well, it's easy for me to see, and this is what they're afraid of, right? The fact that I can see through their conditioning and see through their programming, right? I'm fine. I should say I was finally able to be able to do that, and I had to train myself and teach myself what it is that they were doing. And that's just the psychological aspect of it. But I also have to learn about the technological aspect of the weapons that they use. Right? The law has been ahead of the physical science in that it has allowed that coercion need not involve physical force. And as TI, this is very important that you understand this. Okay? It has recognized that an individual can be threatened or coerced psychologically by what he or she perceives to be dangerous, not necessarily by that which is dangerous. Laws have even laws recognize that even the threatening action need not be physical. Threats of economic loss, which is what they continue to do, and you hear the New York Predator Department in the background, social ostracism and ridicule, among other things, are all recognized by law in various contexts as coercive psychological forces. So why are coercive psychological systems harmful? See, here's the thing. These people continue to do this because they're in a position of power, even though they know how damaging it is to the victims. But they still continue to do it. Why? Because they're constantly in the pursuit of what? To control our minds. Okay? And they're finally able to do it if you are not aware of the tactics and the technology that they're using. All right? So, why are coercive psychological systems harmful? Coercive psychological systems violate our most fundamental concepts of basic human rights. They violate the rights of individuals that are guaranteed by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution and affirmed by many declarations of principle worldwide. By confusing, intimidating, and silencing their victims, this is why I would not be silent. Those who profit from these systems evade exposure and prosecution for action recognized as harmful and which are illegal in most countries, such as fraud, false imprisonment, undue influence, involuntary servitude, intentional infliction of emotional distress, outrageous conduct, and other torturous acts. Right? And this is Margaret Sanger. She was one of the she was the foremost expert on cult and psychological manipulation. All right. So go to this website, Coercive Mind Control Tactics, psychologicalharassment.com. There's a lot of stuff here that you guys can read about and so forth. All right. And this is one of the sites that's been around for well over 2 decades. And it is one of the most informative sites if you are a targeted individual that you can go to. And as I said, the word informative, they use the sirens. Yes, I will continue to teach, expose, and inform anyone that you send or any group of people that you send to engage in coercive persuasion or cognitive warfare against me. Understand this. That is my purpose, my mission. All right? And like I always say, my purpose is greater than yours, theirs. I'm not talking about UTIs. I don't take it personal. My purpose is greater than theirs because I'm about truth. The truth is my greatest ally. The truth is my greatest strength. The truth is my greatest weapon. The truth is their greatest enemy. The truth is their greatest fear. Understand that. All right? Know that. Talk to you guys in the next video.